What up, y'all? So as you can see, I've been decorating and still a mess in the living room, but I started adding these lights and you can like change the color, so I can make it green. I don't know if I'm doing it right. Blue, white, different types of like red, orange, light blue, purple, navy blue, I don't know. So I'm just gonna get another strip to like continue along the wall, and I'm gonna show you like the product when it's done. But I don't know, this kind of feels like too bright. It's not working. This is like intimate. I feel like this is kind of like a strip club look. Like this is what all the strip clubs have. Red lights, and it's always dark, you know, there's no windows, and there's like always a dance pole, which I have here. And I haven't gone pole dancing in so long, but I think I might go maybe tonight for the first time in a while. But I really appreciate you guys watching these videos. It's so nice to like make them. It's like so cathartic, and I enjoy watching other people's videos, and I just feel like not enough people do that. Like not enough people talk about their personal feelings and their lives and everything. And for me, I find that the more I talk, the more it just helps me, you know, like put things in perspective and understand what I'm feeling, what I'm going through. Like, cause my goal in life is not just, you know, be financially stable and all that stuff, but it's more than that. It's be mentally stable and feel like be able to be a positive impact in the world, and be able to like be a good person for my future kids or my future partner. And like I feel like I'm not there yet, you know, like I'm like far from it, you know, all my fears and panics, like I'm still struggling a lot mentally. Like I feel like I'm just constantly, there's so much craziness happening in my mind, like fears, and I'm always in panic mode. I'm always worried about like what's gonna happen next. Like with money, I'm always, you know, and a lot of it is just related to previous traumas. And, you know, people think that trauma is all stuff you experienced as a child, but like a lot of it could be stuff you experience as an adult too. You know, like there's a lot of trauma around money that I experienced both as a child that barely understood money, but also as an adult, like just getting out in the world. Like I talked about working at a strip club, you know, that was traumatic because I had to come from such a religious community, and suddenly I'm in this like place where people are like, yeah, you're of no value to us as a waitress. Like the only thing that you could provide for us that's value is if you took off your clothes and danced. And I was like so terrified, and they're like, well, you're fired. So I was like, fine, I quit. And then they were just like they were really nasty about it. Like they didn't even like pay me what they owed for training. The lights are already falling down. 1 second. It's gonna fall down again. These things are so flimsy. But there's like so much that I'm working through like in my mind, and I don't even know if like therapy helps. The thing with therapy is that it kind of like worsens some of my trauma. Like for example, like I have a money obsession. Like I'm just like terrified of being hungry and broke or whatever, you know what I mean, or like being dependent on somebody else. And so I have that obsession. And then so when I go to therapy, it's like, oh, this is nice, but that costs money. So I feel like I'm losing money if I do that. And even if I use, like therapy is expensive. I just get scared of relying on very expensive things like, medications that are expensive. Like, I remember, I talked about this before, like I went to see a psychiatrist and for the first time, and he gave me like a laundry list of medications I could try. And first of all, like, those medications are kind of band-aids in my opinion. Like, they don't get to the root of the issue, which is like your mindset, your thinking that is related to trauma. But on top of that, it was just so expensive, and that made me so terrified. And I think that added to my anxiety that I had at the time, because like every single one of those little like pill things that he gave me were it was just like I remember it was like over $600 for every single one of those like little pill bottles that he prescribed. And it didn't work. Like, I didn't feel like any of it was working on me. And I actually, some of them worked in some ways, like as I tweeted, like, Seroquel. I don't know if you guys have heard of Seroquel, but I didn't know what it was at the time. I told him that I was having crazy anxiety and it was related to a family member. Every single time I would be around this family member, I would get crazy anxiety. And he said, okay, well, every time you are about to see this family member, like let's say this family member is coming to town or you're going to visit this family member, every single time have one of these pills a day of Seroquel that he prescribed. And I was like, okay, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was just like a mild anxiety pill. And so aside from the fact that that's dumb, like if you have a problem, an anxiety problem that is triggered by a certain person, like probably the best thing to do is talk about it, you know what I mean? And try to get to the root of what the issue is instead of trying to mask it with a pill. But on top of that, it was like I took one of those pills and first of all, it was expensive. I remember it being expensive and I don't remember how much it cost. But then on top of that, and also I had just turned 26, so of course it fell. On top of that, I had just turned 26, so my my insurance wasn't covering it, so I basically had to pay out of pocket, and I remember it being really stressful. So I would take one of those pills and it would knock me out completely. And so it didn't work. And over the years, and I'm talking as if I'm an old person with wisdom, but I'm 28 and I have learned some things ever since I was 20, let's say. Over the years, I've learned there's nothing more helpful to your overcoming your mental issues than literally just talking about it, talking about it, writing about it, write in a journal, if you don't want to talk about it to other people and let everybody know your personal details. Personally, I like talking about it with other people, and the more I talk about it, the more comfortable I feel talking about it with other people, and the less ashamed I feel, because one thing I found by talking to other people is that it's kind of like overcoming your biggest fear, like jumping off a cliff. When you are so afraid of it and then you do it, there's an adrenaline rush because you realize it's not as scary as you thought. And so the more you do something that you're so afraid of. So I don't know if I'm making sense, but when I talk to people about my problems or whatever it is, I feel not only am I overcoming a certain fear of judgment or being ashamed or whatever, but it's also I get such positive reinforcement because I find that other people have the same exact feelings that I do. The same exact experiences, the same exact feelings. We're all human. We all have we often have very similar experiences, even though we're so different in a lot of ways and we come from different places. Human beings, all of us have experienced traumas. Like, unless, you know, like your parents were robots, unless you're like, you know, you just grew up in like the most perfect environment, like everybody on some level experiences discomfort as part of growth. And actually, even if you did grow up in a perfect environment, you're gonna still experience discomfort because it's a very uncomfortable world that we live in. And so if you grew up in the perfect environment, you're actually probably gonna experience the most trauma trying to get out there in the world, because you're gonna have to adjust to this like crazy situation. So like, no matter who you are, you're gonna experience trauma in life. And if you don't talk about it with someone, like, first of all, no one's going to be able to help you, but also like, you're not going to be able to know how normal it is that you feel that way, or like that you're going through that thing. Like, you know, if you don't talk about it, you're going to think that you're like abnormal. There's something wrong with you. Like, you're some kind of freak of nature or whatever. And you're not a freak of nature. And also another thing is like, again, back to like why you should keep a vlog journal. The more you talk about it, the more you like hear your voice, the more you write about it, journal like in a diary or something, the more you like hear and see your thoughts and are able to put it in perspective. And like, there's so many things that I look back and I think, oh wow, I was like so wrong about this, or I was so wrong about that. Like, you know, and it's almost like you get to like detach yourself from your own voice and your thoughts and be able to like analyze them as an outsider. And the more you do that, like the more you can understand yourself, the more you can help yourself. And the more you can help yourself, the healthier you'll be. And so I really appreciate that element of it. And, you know, like I definitely think that I'm better than I was a few years ago, like in terms of knowing exactly what I need, but I'm still not 100% like grounded in knowing what I need. Like, for example, I know that, you know, I know that I really need to go to the gym every day. And going to the gym, it can turn my day around. Like, I could be having like the absolute worst mood ever and think that like the world is falling down and like everybody's the worst and I hate everything and whatever. And then like, I'll go to the gym and spend 30 minutes on a treadmill and I'm suddenly just like a new person. You know, people like love their drugs and whatever, and maybe, you know, that works for you, but way more than any kind of medication or drug or weed or anything that I ever had was literally just going to the gym. People don't like to do it because it takes like action. Sorry, there's like a tornado happening outside. So people don't like the gym because it requires action. Another thing that really helps me is literally just action, moving, like not staying in one spot. If I feel like I'm in one spot too long, if I'm feeling down, like literally just getting up and moving to a different place, like getting up, going somewhere, working away from the house. When I stay at home, I get tired for some reason. And that's something else that I really want to explore, is like why do I get so depressed whenever I stay home? Like, I hate being home. And taking naps in the middle of the day, I always get in a bad mood when I take naps in the middle of the day. Like, there's so many things that I still like need to understand about myself. And I don't really feel like therapy helps me that much, because unless you're going to therapy like a few times a week, and I know some people who go to therapy a few times a week, like it really helps them. But for me, even more than therapy is like these vlogs. I do these vlogs every single day. And therapy is like once every other week maybe, and it's like so far, I have to drive so far, and we don't really get to doing a lot of actual therapy when we're there, and it's only for an hour. And so I really don't feel like that's very helpful. And if I were to do it more often, not only would it be expensive, which like, again, because of the way my mindset around money, like I'm not willing to spend that much. Like I just don't want to. I don't see it as like worth it. The payoff isn't worth it to me. Like if I had a lot more money to play around with, like if I was liquid in a lot of more ways maybe, but I'm not. So, and then also like it's just so far, and like the gas and the mileage and everything, it's like it really doesn't feel worth it to me. I feel like it just keeps getting darker and darker in here. You know, growing up in a religious community, I feel like it was so taboo. Like if you talk about any sort of personal issue that you might have, and I find it wasn't only true in my community, my religious community, it's true for a variety of like religious communities, traditional communities, the conservative role. Like I find that conservatives more than progressives, like the one thing I always liked about progressives, which I'm not a fan of progressives. I always complain about lefties, but the one thing that I always liked about lefties, which made me gravitate towards, like, for example, lefty men, is that they tend to be way more outspoken about their feelings. Like they talk about their feelings a lot more, and conservatives don't do that. As a whole, if you notice, conservatives tend to be way more autistic about their feelings, and like oh no, like if you talk about your feelings, like you're just like a pussy or something like that. And it doesn't make you a pussy to talk about your feelings. It makes you human, and actually you're much more likely to grow from talking about your feelings and like be able to understand yourself. Your feelings it's a part of your body. It's a part of you. It's just like when you try to explore your feelings, it's like trying to explore, you know, like any kind of physical ailment or whatever, you know, like there's no reason that you shouldn't treat your body there's no reason you shouldn't treat your mind the same way you treat your body. Like if you're gonna have a fitness program for your body, you should have a fitness program for your mind. Actually, your mind is way more important, because your mind is going to stay with you all the way until the end. Even when your body breaks down, your mind is going to be there, and you're going to have to be there, sitting there with your mind. Imagine being a vegetable one day and the only thing you have is your mind, your shitty mind, and like you didn't do the work that you needed to do in order, and then you're stuck with just your mind. Like the idea of like therapy and talking about your feelings is still so weird and taboo in like conservative or like religious circles. And that's one thing that I really wish like people tried to, and I see some people changing it around. Like there's this guy Josh Slocum. I don't know if you guys watch his podcast, or I don't even watch all his podcast episodes, but I've seen some of his stuff and I see him tweeting. It's called the Disaffected Podcast, and he talks a lot about his feelings, and he's just so open. Mike Cernovich has always been very open with his feelings. I'm probably not mentioning all the people, but there are some people, like conservatives, people on the right, that are open about their feelings, but I don't see enough. And I think that it's really important for conservatives, people who are pro reality, to promote, talking about your feelings as a way of like coping and therapy, because I think it's just as important as like going to the gym. You know what I mean? Going to the gym is going to help you with your feelings, but so will this. And I think there is a little bit of like a stigma, because the left talks about their feelings, but there's another extreme to talking about your feelings, to where your feelings become your reality. And that's when, like I was talking about in the other video with the guy who talks about depression, like when your feelings become your reality, that's when a lot of mental issues start. Like that's when people start becoming depressed, and they start losing control of their mind. So I'm not saying you should treat your feelings like they're the reality and allow yourself to like totally let your feelings dominate, because when your feelings dominate and you do things because of your feelings, that's when you really run into problems, like emotional problems, and like that's when your life kind of goes to shit. but I'm just saying, talk about your feelings so you can resolve the negative parts, and so you can like understand yourself and explore them, because like there's a balance. Feelings happen because something happened, you saw something, you heard something that triggered like an emotional response. And so in order to like deal with it, you have to allow it to come to the surface. And that's like one thing that I really wish the right was better at, the conservative right, because you know, and it doesn't matter, like generally I feel like conservatives tend to be healthier because they do tend to prize like taking care of your body, and like, you know, when you take care of your body, you're just mentally going to be healthier. But if I had to choose between taking care of my body and taking care of my mind, I would first take care of my body, because when you take care of your body, you're automatically going to be taking care of your mind. Like it's your mind is just going to be healthier automatically. But there are some things that you can't fix just by taking care of your body, and that's like your emotional like process of thinking. Like that, the only way to fix that is by communicating with yourself, communicating with others. So I definitely recommend doing that, you know, talking every day, communicating with someone like a mentor, someone that cares about you. And if you can't find anybody that cares about you, you know, go on YouTube and talk to YouTube. If you don't want to talk to YouTube, you know, have a private video thing, or if you don't want to make that, you can write about it, write it, you know, like somewhere, talk to somewhere, make it real, make it a form of communication that happens like every single day, that you can like look back on and reflect. And like another thing I'll say is that when I started live streaming, like a lot of you guys found me through my live streams, and you like it was amazing how many people appreciated it and gave me such a nice response for my live streams. But like, I didn't make the live stream for you initially, like it was just for me, because I had just gotten out of a breakup, and this was 2019 when I started doing Partis Live. I had just gotten out of a breakup, and I was really depressed and lonely, and like around 8 o'clock at night was when I would normally hang out with my boyfriend at the time. And so I started doing these live streams at 8 o'clock to like fill that void. And so like every night at like 8 for like an hour, I would just sit and talk about random shit. And I found that it really made me feel so much better. It like really lifted me up. And at a time when everything felt so unstable and I just was so depressed and anxious otherwise, like the only thing that was keeping me going, and it also forced me to have like a set schedule, was this live stream that I was doing every single night at 8 o'clock. I really appreciated it. And I had a therapist at the time, and she really, she told me that she saw a huge difference in the way I was acting. Like, I seemed to be in much better spirits ever since I started doing that. Anyway, yeah, that's all I have to say. And like, I have so much more emotional work to do on myself, because I'm not where I want to be. And like, I still feel like there's a long way for me to go. I'm still not completely emotionally self-aware, because if I was, I would know exactly why it is that like I'm so tired, like within a few hours of being awake. Like I have a full night of sleep, but the sleep is filled with dreams. I had a bunch of crazy dreams last night. Again, it's always just full of dreams, and it's not necessarily weed. Like I don't have weed every day, actually I haven't had an edible in a while, and so I hadn't had an edible maybe in like a week or two. And so I know it's not anything I had last night. It was like, it's just, a night full of crazy dreams. And then I woke up, and then after a few hours, I was just already tired again. And I just feel so tired already. And I don't want to go to sleep now, because then I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night and my sleep schedule is going to be messed up. So I'm just like trying to keep myself awake so that I could go to sleep at a normal time and wake up at a normal time. And so like, I'm still trying to understand that about myself. Like, is it overthinking? Like, why am I getting so tired so quickly? So that's just things I'm trying to like explore about myself. So I'm gonna try to fight the urge to go to sleep now, and I'm gonna maybe like try to do that pole class. It starts in like an hour or something. So see you guys later.